Привет, друзья! Как дела? Меня зовут Mark. Добрый пожаловать в мой school. Hi everybody, it's Mark Lawrence, Classic Martial Arts, Lawrence, California. Alright, so today's project is going to be this. Taking one of these, this lovely thing here, which is a Saber Machete with a hideous handle, and turning it into a Shashka you could at least use for cutting. It's going to be basically, the project is this. If I don't have much money, how can I get started and I'd like to do cutting? Well, I'm going to turn this thing, one of these, into a Shashka you can use for cutting. We'll put the correct handle in it, then we'll sharpen it up, and we'll actually do some cutting with it. Alright, so let's get started. Well, this is going to be an interesting project. This is a machete that's a Saber machete, but it has an absolutely horrible handle. So my thought is, can I make this into a Shashka machete and make a decent cutter out of it? So this will be an interesting experiment. First thing I'm going to do, you notice, is I got to get rid of this handle, and it's riveted on there, and it's an absolutely horrible handle. So I need to get rid of that handle and make a new one. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Alright, so now I get to grinding. Alright, so here it is. I've ground down the ends of the rivets. Now I've got to drive the rivets out of the handle. I'm going to use my anvil here, and I'm going to steel punch and a big hammer, and we're going to knock these pins out and get rid of this crappy handle and make a good one. Alright, well, there's the rivets out. There's the handle off, and now we're going to have to make some adjustments to the steel. We're going to have to fix that curve and straighten that out so that way the blade actually sits correctly, and we're going to end up taking off a chunk of that horn that's there and making it so it'll fit the handle correctly. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, well, see, I've taken off the horn. I've straightened out this curvature, so now it'll sit better with the handle. It's more in line now to the curve coming for so that way I can get a good center of balance and make it a good cutter. Alright, well, so I'll move on. Now I gotta make handles. Alright, well, there it is. I had to drill those out, slightly oversized. Now I have a carbide bit and a drill press that I use because that's already hardened tempered steel. So to do that way I can make sure my Chicago screws fit, because there's a slight difference in size in what I have around. So rather than order the other size, I just drill these out slightly oversized. Doesn't make any difference as far as performance goes. Well, here's my scales. They're all cut. They're cut for the basic now. Now I got to cut them out. This is a time you really got to be careful with your work, because it'll save you a lot of extra work down the road. Well, now you have the scales roughed out. So they need to be what? They need to have the holes drilled in them. So to do that, you have to lay them out carefully and make sure that it's nice and flat and even, and make sure your geometry is correct. And then when you drill them together as a set, so that way you're not trying to guess your way on the lineup. Alright, well, there it is. That's clamped together. So I'm going to drill that on my drill press so it's nice and straight. I'm going to drill all the way through, and I'm going to have a piece of sacrificial wood underneath. Now, I'm going to have to do the hole closest to the right, the center hole. Then I'm going to have to go ahead and put a pin in there so it doesn't move, and then do the last hole because I have to move the clamp, because as I know, the drill chuck won't get past it. So those are just little things that I've learned over the years. Alright, so let me move on here. Alright, so now it's drilled, but you know, like with all things, there's just get two pieces and they're just a hair different. Now what I like to do at this point, because I'll put them together with the screws to hold them, is I'm going to take them to my disc sander. And you could do this with a file. You could do this with a rasp. I just use the disc sander because it's quicker. And I have one. I'm going to do the perimeter and make them as even as possible to get rid of things like that. So when I get this finished, they're going to match as a pair. Because right now, as with all things, they're slightly off. Alright, so now they're nicely matched, nice and even. Okay, so that makes it pretty good for everything else I'm going to do. Saves me a lot of time and trouble later, because I know they're matched, they bolt together, they're even. Well, here it is. It's getting roughed out now. Notice it's been rounded. Starting to make it look like a Shashka handle. So the next thing is I got to drill to recess every one of those screws. That's my next part. And then it's a matter of attaching it to the blade and gluing it so it can sit and be strong for the next part. Alright, well, here's the next part. I'm going to inlet where the blade's going to sit, and I'm going to use my router. I just have to stop right before the screw and then reset that little internal screw. Now this work can be done with a gouge by hand. Just like shaping, this can be done with a rasp. You can cut that out with a hand scroll saw. You can do a lot of this work by hand. I just happen to have the tools to do it mechanically, and it just makes it go quicker. Alright, so the handle's about to get glued, and now it's starting to look like a Shashka. As you can see, the handle's been roughed on the sander, and I've got the screws ready to be counterset. You can see there, and it'll get more tomorrow, but I've got to put the glue on and let her sit overnight. Well, there's the handle all glued up right now. Just got to sit. A couple extra clamps on it. Screws are in place. So, and the blue tape is actually there to keep any of the glue from leaking out of any of the seams, and it makes a smoother finish. And if it gets stuck, it's easy to come off with a sander. So, not a big deal. Alright, so here we are in the second part. Clamps are off now, and I started rounding it, making it more into a Shashka. And I now next need to go to the Dremel tool to give it more of the hook and work on that section, and so I'm going to get started into that. Well, there it is. It's got my hook to it. Fits my hand, nice round shape. It's cleaned up, so it's all shaped out. It's ready for the oil, and that'll complete the handle section of this project. Once I have the oil on it, that'll give it an oil finish. Nothing more complicated than that. If you want to, you can stain this wood, and then you can also varnish it. That's really kind of personal. That's up to you. It looks nicer if you go with stain and varnish. I did this just because this is a quick and simple project. Alright, so we start into the next part. This tool you're going to need, you can't do this by hand. You're going to need to get a 1-inch belt sander as a minimum. You're going to need to do some modifications so that way you can grind at 15 degrees. To go ahead and between 15 and 17 degrees, you're going to need to be able to grind this and start establishing a real edge on it. And that takes a while. So you're going to need a series of belts, starting off with 80 grit to 120 grit, 120 grit to 180 grit to 240 to 360 to 400, 400 to 600. You got to spend a little money there to put an edge on it. Alright, well, the handle's been oiled now. You can see it there. And I've sharpened the blade. And it's sharpened at about 17 degrees. And I took it out all the way to 800 grit, away with my belts. So it's been sharpened, and we're going to go ahead and see how it'll do. So I'm going to go ahead and have some lunch, and then after lunch, I'm going to go ahead and do some test cutting. We'll see. Okay, well, it's after lunch. Here it is. There's the Shashka. Okay, so we're going to give this a shot. We're going to try it on this bottle. Let's see what happens. So, we're going to safe. Barricades up. We want to cut to this. First cut, not bad. Knocked it over, but not bad. Let's see what it does in the second cut. This is my first trial with it. All right, let's try it, big bottle. Not bad. All right. So that's the testing with the Shashka made from a Saber Machete. So as you see here it is. Okay, remember it does not have a scabbard, so I'm going to have to keep it in the rack till I make a scabbard. It is sharp enough to cut a bottle and still leave the piece sitting there. Not bad. You know, when you think about this is $20 worth of material put into this as far as your wood, your fasteners, and the machete. Now, we got the time. You have to manufacture everything. You've got time with the glue, so that's all part of it. So digging through my stuff, turns out I got a 1-gallon bottle left. Let's have some fun. Alright, so let's try our new Shashka blade on 1 gallon. Alright, wish me luck. That was nice. All the way through. Still got a stump left. I'm going to push this off. I don't feel lucky today. I'm not going to try it. Not bad though. Especially not bad considering the blade. I think we made it. That cheap stuff. So it's possible with classic martial arts to make your stuff with tools that you have and do what? Support your art and be able to practice it. Not a bad deal. Think about that. Wherever you're at, we can find a curved machete blade, take a piece of steel, sharpen it up, put a handle on it, work on finding its balance point and say, oh yeah, I can do this. So, kind of fun when we can get to that point. Anyway, let's go on. Something to think about. Classic martial arts in this country is not a mature art. It's not like karate or jiu-jitsu, Krav Maga, whatever you want to do. There's not things to buy. So you're put in a situation that you have to do what? You have to make the training yourself. Okay? Find yourself having to work with aluminum. You may have to make your own cutting blade. Okay? That's just part of an art that's new here in the U.S. I'm doing a lot with people to help get weapons out there, trained with. We have Purple Heart Armory out there that has the plastic blades. I've got other people now working on getting metal blades out, for training. And we have lots of good vendors out there today that'll make you decent blades for a decent price. If you're really broke, you can actually, with some tools, make your own cutting blade. Think about that. All right. So, what do I always say to you guys? Спасибо, мои друзья, смотрите мои film. Thank you for watching my film. До свидания, goodbye. На здоровье, to your health. Увидимся только. See you soon. So anyway, as you got a chance to see this thing in action, see it work, and it cuts. So you can't ask for much more than that. Again, go back to the film, watch what I said. Until next time, I say, buck.